Okay, Zhang Chao during the Tang Dynasty seems to be the founder. Then Cao Qipei at Qing Dynasty conventionalized, and Gao Bing illustrated various dimensions, techniques using his fingertips rather than brush to complete. Regardless of Western or Eastern culture, how many of the true finger painting artists exist these days, and how do you feel about the trend of the finger painting?
Yes, in some ways, the earliest paintings that were done probably were done with fingers. I'm talking about in prehistoric times. When we think of the paintings that appear in the Neolithic caves in southern France and northern Spain, Lascaux, Altamira, places like that, by Neolithic people, probably were done with fingers. Then brushes were invented and people began to use brushes. And so, of course, there were Chinese artists, there were Korean artists, there were Western artists who used their fingers. But when they did, they typically used the tip of the finger, or sometimes even a fingernail. Gao Qipei, for example, usually traditionally is known to have let his fingernails grow very long, so that he could make a scratchy mark with his finger with ink. But other times would use the fingertip. Substituting the finger and fingernail, if you will, for the brush. Which produces interesting effects. But again, it's in modern times, if you will, from the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st century, it's artists trying to do something new, something different, something non-conventional. And GuGu Kim has taken that a step further. Instead of just drawing, if you will, with ink on his fingertip, he is really stamping with his fingers, composing his pictures of dots of ink. In that way, his pictures, it seems to me, coincidentally, are something of a hybrid between pointillist, where you have lots of dots in the painting, European late 19th century painting, and the kind of image that one saw in photographic reproductions in newspapers, say in the 1950s, 60s, black and white reproductions, with half-tone dots. And then there's a little bit, perhaps, of Chuck Close in there as well. So that it's really a very new approach that GuGu has towards finger painting. It makes it very new, very different, very exciting.
Is there a lot of different finger painting artists do you see these days?
No, I don't think there are many finger painting artists. But one of the things that I'm aware of, again, I am not a specialist in contemporary art. I'm a specialist in traditional art, but I do a lot of work with contemporary art, and my actual training was in the field of Chinese painting, even though I did most of my scholarly work in the field of ceramics, but some background in painting. I don't know of many finger painting artists in Asia or the West. But one of the things I would say, I mentioned in a private conversation before, Liu Guosong, who was a Chinese artist, born in 1937 in the mainland in 1949. He and his family fled to Taiwan. But he is a leading modern and contemporary painter for China. In teaching his students, he emphasized discard the brush, find a new way to apply ink and color to paper or silk. Sometimes the students would use wads of paper that they would stamp with. Others would use cork. Others would use different things. And so, in a sense, GuGu Kim is working in a similar vein, discarding the brush, using his hands directly, rather than another vehicle for applying the ink. But in that sense, I think there will be new interest in one kind of finger painting or another as a way of inventing a new technique.
So in other words, the trend of this new finger painting method, the technique, is something that originated from the ancient, very classical period. But you do foresee that it will be some type of a new trend for the future and modern art?
I don't know whether it will be a new trend or not, but I think it's something that artists will experiment with.
Okay.
And so whether it goes from experimentation to a trend, with many artists following in that wake, I can't predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball, and even if I did,
right.
I couldn't see it. But it's certainly possible.